Welcome to Guide to Reads. If you've ever felt that longing, that yearning for something more in our fast-paced, technology-driven world, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into Our New Social Life by Natalie K. Natalie Kerr, and Jaime Kurtz, a science-backed guide to building deeper, more meaningful connections. This book offers practical strategies to help you rewire your social instincts, overcome the barriers modern life has put up, and foster authentic, heartfelt relationships. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights that can nurture and enrich your social life. In our hyper-connected world, that genuine human connection we crave often feels more elusive than ever. As your smartphone buzzes incessantly with notifications and your calendar fills to the brim with commitments, a deeper part of you recognizes something is missing, something beyond the digital connections we've grown so accustomed to. The way we interact with others today may seem normal, but your heart and your soul know otherwise, and they've been trying to tell you something important. This deep dive into the science of human connection will reshape the way you see every interaction, from the casual, lighthearted chats at the coffee shop to your most intimate, cherished relationships. Drawing from cutting-edge research in neuroscience and psychology, you'll discover why social connections are as essential to our well-being as food and water, and how to nurture those deeper, more meaningful relationships in our modern world. By understanding these critical principles, you'll develop the ability to create genuine, authentic connections that not only enrich your life, but also contribute to your physical and mental well-being in ways you never imagined. 1. The science of social connection. Let's begin by exploring the science behind our deepest human need, the need for social connection. Why start here? Because understanding the very biology of our longing for relationships reveals just how inherently, profoundly ingrained they are within us. For decades, researchers have known that we humans are, at our core, social creatures. But recent groundbreaking discoveries in neuroscience have uncovered something even more fundamental. Our need for social bonds isn't just a preference or a nicety. It's a critical survival mechanism, as essential to our well-being as food, water, or shelter. This insight becomes crystal clear when we look at how our brains process social experiences. When scientists study the brain's response to social pain, like rejection or isolation, they see something truly remarkable. The neural circuits that activate are lighting up in exactly the same way as when we experience physical injury. This biological reality explains why emotional pain feels so intensely, viscerally real to us. Our brains are processing these social wounds as genuine threats to our very survival. The sheer power of this hardwired human need for connection becomes vividly, heartbreakingly clear in extreme situations. Take the survival show, Alone. Contestants enter the wilderness with expert knowledge of finding food and building shelter. Yet it's rarely hunger or cold that ultimately defeats them. It's the crushing, debilitating weight of complete isolation. As one participant vulnerably revealed, "The isolation completely broke my spirit. It broke my will." Their experience mirrors what laboratory studies have consistently found. Extended periods without social contact create a measurable, gnawing craving for connection that mirrors the physical hunger pangs of starvation. Our social needs express themselves through 3 distinct but deeply interconnected channels. The first is intimate connection, that profound, unshakable bond with someone who truly knows you, shares your deepest thoughts and feelings, and provides unwavering support during life's darkest, most difficult moments. This is the person you can call at 3 a.m. when your world has fallen apart, the one who knows your full story and holds your most vulnerable truths. The second channel involves the relational connections, your circle of friends and family who celebrate your achievements, comfort you through losses, and weave themselves into the very fabric of your daily life. These are the people who help you move apartments, remember your birthday, and share regular coffee or wine dates. They create the vital social fabric that supports and nourishes your overall well-being. The third channel, collective connection, gives us something equally essential, a sense of belonging to something larger than ourselves. Whether through a spiritual community, sports team, volunteer group, or professional network, these connections provide us with a cherished sense of purpose and identity that extends beyond our individual relationships. They help us feel part of a greater story, a more expansive human experience. As we'll soon explore, modern life often works against these fundamental human needs. Most people today squeeze in just 34 minutes of genuine social contact daily, treating friendship and community as optional luxuries rather than basic requirements. We prioritize work deadlines and household tasks over true social time, yet research consistently shows that strong social bonds impact our health and well-being as significantly as proper exercise and nutrition. 2. Breaking through modern barriers. The fact that social connection so profoundly shapes human biology makes our current reality all the more striking. This is because even though we innately need those vital social bonds, modern life tends to relentlessly pull us apart, even the very tools and technologies meant to bring us together. Our relationship with technology painfully highlights this growing divide. For instance, a staggering 90% of people now check their phones during social interactions, a behavior researchers refer to as the devastating act of phubbing. Studies from leading behavioral scientists reveal a truly heartbreaking pattern. When parents become absorbed in their devices around their own children, both parties often end up feeling desperately disconnected, even as they sit side by side. Rather than avoiding technology entirely, setting thoughtful, intentional boundaries can make a tremendous, transformative difference. Simple, consistent habits like having sacred, phone-free meals together or scheduling specific sacred times to check notifications can create precious, fertile opportunities for deeper, more nourishing human connection. Our culture's obsession with ceaseless busyness also poses a major, formidable obstacle to cultivating real connection. Jam-packed, overscheduled lives have become relentless status symbols, making time feel like an endangered, coveted resource, causing our most important relationships to constantly fall by the wayside. But research reveals an unexpected, liberating truth. Giving our time and presence to others can actually create a profound, surprising sense of abundance within us. Breaking this vicious cycle doesn't require drastic, overwhelming changes. Simple acts like outsourcing mundane tasks like cleaning or grocery delivery can suddenly free up hours to invest in the people who matter most. Even small gestures like dedicating just 15 focused minutes to truly helping someone can make our days feel infinitely more spacious, meaningful, and full. These gentle adjustments not only have the power to deepen our connections, but also bring a profound, unexpected sense of fulfillment. The ever-escalating pressures of modern parenting further illustrate just how intensely current societal forces can strain and damage our core human connections. Parents now face unprecedented cultural expectations to constantly engage with and attend to their children's endless activities, often at the devastating expense of their own adult friendships and support systems. This intensive parenting trend has doubled in recent years, yet research reveals a surprising, liberating truth. Children actually develop stronger, healthier social skills when their parents have the wisdom and self-care to maintain their own rich, vibrant social lives. The wisest solutions strike a nourishing balance, like shared family playdates that allow parents to authentically connect, or rotating childcare systems that create precious, protected space for adults to recharge their social batteries. Finally, the advent of social media has introduced its own complex, layered challenges. Digital connections often replace the precious face-to-face interaction we crave, yet tragically lack the profound neurological benefits that physical, embodied presence provides. Brain imaging studies show that in-person contact triggers entirely different, richer neural pathways than online interaction. Virtual connection can certainly serve as a useful supplement, but it can never fully replace the deep primal biological need for genuine physical presence. What makes these daunting systemic challenges even more difficult is that they are often subtly reinforced and normalized by the very social fabric around us. Overcoming them requires a level of conscious, courageous effort. But small, consistent choices, like leaving open, unscheduled space in our days for truly unhurried, quality conversations, prioritizing social time with the same sacred dedication as an important work deadline, or simply placing our phones out of sight during shared moments, can help us rebuild the nourishing, life-giving connections that modern life so often conspires to disrupt. 3. Understanding social perception. While the external barriers created by modern life can certainly hinder our ability to connect, the internal obstacles can be just as challenging, if not more so. Subtle, insidious mental patterns and tendencies can so often creep into our minds, quietly and invisibly distorting our perception of social situations and keeping us from building the deeper, more nourishing connections our hearts crave. These barriers may not be as obvious or glaring as the constant distractions of a smartphone, but their impacts can be just as damaging, if not more so. A prime example of this is the spotlight effect, the tendency for us to grossly overestimate how much others are actually observing and judging us. Research has consistently shown that most people believe they're being watched and evaluated far more closely by their peers than they truly are. In one illuminating study, college students were instructed to wear an embarrassingly tacky Barry Manilow t-shirt and then guess how many of their fellow students would take notice. The students predicted that a full 50% of their peers would remark on the humiliating shirt. But in reality, less than a quarter of them ever did. This exaggerated, distorted sense of constantly being observed and evaluated often leaves people feeling painfully self-conscious, hesitant to act authentically, and reluctant to reach out socially. Loneliness, too, has a truly surprising and impactful effect on our social perception. When we're feeling lonely, our brains actually undergo changes that can make genuine connection feel even harder to achieve. When we're in a lonely state, our brains start to operate as if they're under a constant threat, becoming hypervigilant and hypersensitive to any potential social dangers or rejections. Neutral or ambiguous signals from others, like a delayed text response, for example, can suddenly feel loaded with negative meaning and intent. What might have otherwise seemed fairly innocuous, like a friend being slow to reply, gets misread and misinterpreted as a rejection. This defensive, wary mindset can then turn into a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle, where the very fear of being excluded leads us to behave in ways that make that exclusion all the more likely. But the encouraging part is that once we recognize and understand these deeply ingrained mental patterns, we can start to shift and reshape them. For instance, an awareness of the spotlight effect can be an immensely liberating reminder that others are actually far more focused on themselves and their own inner worlds than they are on closely observing and judging us. This realization can go a long way in dramatically easing our self-consciousness in social settings. Similarly, when we find ourselves faced with ambiguous social situations, we can train ourselves to generate multiple generous interpretations before jumping to the most negative conclusion. That seemingly distant friend may simply be preoccupied with their own worries or having an off day, not purposefully ignoring or rejecting us. A particularly helpful practice is what's known as social mindfulness, the act of closely observing and noting when our own minds start creating stories and narratives about a social situation, rather than simply interpreting it clearly and objectively. Are we blowing a minor social misstep completely out of proportion? Are we assigning harsh negative intentions to someone else's behavior without any real evidence? Recognizing these tendencies as they arise can go a long way in reducing their grip and power over us. Interestingly, studies have shown that people who cultivate this kind of self-awareness and social mindfulness actually tend to come across as more approachable and have better, more fulfilling interactions overall. The ultimate goal isn't to force ourselves into a state of constant artificial positivity, but rather to simply gain a clearer, more discerning perspective. Understanding how our own brains naturally distort and misinterpret social situations can empower us to start breaking through those distortions and connect more authentically, deeply, and meaningfully with others. With practice, the very same mental processes that once built towering walls between us can instead become the bridges that lead to richer, more nourishing relationships. 4. The building blocks of connection. Knowing how the mind works is a helpful start, but creating real connections means focusing on the core principles that shape human relationships. These principles aren't complex techniques or strategies. They're simple truths about human nature supported by years of research. Take proximity, for example. It's one of the most powerful forces in forming relationships, and it's surprisingly straightforward. We bond with the people we see regularly. A classic study on student housing revealed that the students who lived closest to each other, those who passed each other in the hallway or saw each other most often, were far more likely to form friendships. And it's not just dorm rooms. This pattern shows up everywhere, in workplaces, neighborhoods, and social circles. Simply seeing someone repeatedly, even casually, makes them feel more familiar, approachable, and trustworthy. Psychologists call this the mere exposure effect, but at its heart it's just human nature. We connect with what we see often. Another important factor is similarity. We're naturally drawn to people who share something in common with us. And what's interesting is it doesn't have to be that significant. It could be as simple as realizing you both grew up in the same city, share a love for hiking, or root for the same team. Those little points of connection feel natural and make conversations flow more easily, creating a sense of us, even in casual interactions. What's great about this is that it works even when two people seem very different on the surface. Finding even a small overlap can bring them closer. So how do these principles translate to real life? For starters, think about creating opportunities for repeated, natural interaction. Joining a weekly class or group is often more effective for building relationships than attending one-off events. It's in those regular encounters, seeing familiar faces, sharing small conversations, that real bonds start to grow. Similarly, spending time in spaces that encourage conversation, like common areas or casual gatherings, can make connecting feel easy and organic. And don't overlook the little details. Sharing bits of your interests or experiences invites others to connect with you. Research shows that even revealing something small about yourself can open the door to deeper engagement. Once you've taken steps to bring people together through proximity and shared interests, the true key to building thriving relationships lies in how you communicate. Listening, in particular, is an often overlooked but transformative skill. When you give someone your full attention, really focusing on their words, remembering what they share, and following up later, you create a sense of trust and understanding. This level of engagement makes people feel seen and valued. Fascinatingly, studies even show that during deep conversations, brain activity between two people can synchronize, reinforcing the emotional connection between them. What makes these principles so effective is how simple they are. You don't need to be the most outgoing person in the room to make them work. Showing up consistently, staying open to connections, and listening with care create the perfect conditions for relationships to grow naturally. 5. Creating deeper bonds. You've already explored the fundamentals of human connection, the core principles that form the foundation for building relationships with others. Now it's time to dive deeper. How do you transform those initial interactions into truly meaningful connections? The answer rests in practices that nurture trust, connection, and intimacy in natural, accessible ways. Vulnerability is a key starting point, approached with authenticity and care. Gradually sharing parts of yourself, not too much, not too little, builds trust layer by layer. Research indicates that measured self-disclosure promotes likability and trustworthiness. Imagine revealing pieces of a puzzle over time, letting others see more of the picture as the connection deepens. The goal is opening up in ways that feel safe and genuine for everyone involved. Responsiveness is another critical factor. How you react when someone shares with you, especially in joyful moments. Studies have discovered that celebrating others' successes with curiosity and enthusiasm strengthens bonds much more than simply offering support during difficulties. This idea, known as capitalization, fosters trust and intimacy. For instance, responding to good news with genuine excitement and follow-up questions demonstrates true engagement. On the other hand, dismissive responses, even neutral ones like, "That's nice," can inadvertently create distance. Time is also necessary for building deeper connections, and research offers surprising clarity here. Transitioning from acquaintance to casual friend requires around 50 hours of interaction, while close friendships need over 200 hours to form. But don't let these numbers overwhelm you. It's not about tracking hours, but spending them meaningfully. Time spent in deep conversation or shared activities carries far more significance than time spent together passively. A particularly powerful way to deepen relationships is through shared novel experiences. Research consistently shows that trying new activities together forges stronger bonds than adhering to familiar routines. This principle holds true for both friendships and romantic relationships. Venturing into the unknown together reinforces trust and creates enduring memories. What unites all of this is courage, the willingness to move beyond surface-level interactions. Being vulnerable, investing time, and fully celebrating others takes effort, but the rewards are immense. People with meaningful relationships enjoy greater happiness, longer lives, and a stronger sense of purpose. In a world that often prioritizes quick, shallow interactions, these practices help preserve something truly essential: the ability to connect deeply and authentically with others. By putting these principles into practice, you can cultivate relationships that enrich your life and the lives of those around you. Final summary. Our New Social Life is a timely and practical guide to navigating the challenges of modern social life. Natalie K. Natalie Kerr, and Jaime Kurtz combine scientific research with actionable strategies to help you build deeper, more meaningful connections in a world that often feels disconnected. Meaningful relationships are essential for well-being, and with intentional effort, we can overcome modern barriers to connection. By understanding the science of social connection and practicing empathy, vulnerability, and active listening, we can create a richer, more fulfilling social life. Whether you're looking to strengthen existing relationships, make new connections, or simply feel less isolated, this book offers valuable tools to help you thrive socially. Ready to rewire your social instincts and build deeper connections? Start by setting aside time for meaningful interactions, practicing empathy, and being vulnerable in your relationships. If this summary inspired you, grab a copy of Our New Social Life and take the first step toward a more connected and fulfilling life. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Guide to Reads for more transformative book insights. Remember, meaningful connections begin with intentional effort.